Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a world of incredible contrasts. You've got these tense, high-stakes diplomatic summits and devastating conflicts on one side, and on the other, a truly rare and beautiful celestial spectacle. We're going to explore these fault lines and this moment of cosmic unity to ask, what really connects them all?
You know, the headlines are just flying at us from all directions, right? There are tense negotiations over one war, an escalating crisis in another, and then, smack in the middle of it all, a literal parade of planets across the night sky. So, is there some thread that ties all this chaos together? Or are we just living through a bunch of unrelated crises? Well, that's what we're here to unpack.
All right, so let's start at a really critical diplomatic crossroads. The war in Ukraine, it's entering a pivotal phase, and I don't just mean on the battlefield, but at the potential negotiating table.
So, there's a major summit on the horizon, in Alaska, between the US and Russia. But the real drama, the real question, is about a potentially empty chair. US officials are apparently debating whether to invite Ukrainian President Zelenskyy. Meanwhile, Europe and NATO are sending a message that couldn't be clearer. Any real talks, any path forward, must include Ukraine.
And for the European Union and NATO, look, this isn't just a suggestion. It's a non-negotiable principle. Their argument is pretty straightforward. For any peace process to be legitimate, to even be taken seriously, Ukraine has to be in the room. This is about way more than just one nation's sovereignty. For them, it's about the security of the entire continent.
So while one conflict hangs on all this diplomatic maneuvering, another one is getting deeper and more intense on the ground. Let's turn now to the Middle East, where the military and humanitarian crisis in Gaza just continues to escalate.
The official justification for the ongoing offensive is stark. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu puts it this way: a full military takeover of Gaza City is the most direct path, the fastest way to end the war. The goal, as he frames it, is the complete disarmament of Hamas as the absolute precondition for any kind of lasting peace.
But behind that military strategy lies an absolutely devastating human cost. The number of Palestinians killed has now climbed past 61,000. And this is all happening while the population is facing a worsening famine and finding it harder and harder to get access to humanitarian aid.
So, how does a single country even begin to navigate two incredibly complex and very different global crises at the same time? Let's take a look at Australia's position on the world stage. It's a fascinating example of how one nation is trying to balance all these pressures.
When you look at Australia's foreign policy right now, you see this really complex balancing act. On Gaza, they're taking a very hard line, insisting that Hamas can have no part in any future government. On Ukraine, they're right in step with their Western allies, demanding Kyiv be at the table. But here's where it gets interesting. Australia is also independently considering recognizing a Palestinian state, a move that kind of shows it's willing to chart its own course, even ahead of the UN. And to put a really fine point on it, Australia's Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles, he made the government's position completely unequivocal. His words, "There can be no role for Hamas in any future Palestinian state. It is a definitive line in the sand." Okay. While leaders down here on Earth are grappling with all of these intractable conflicts, the cosmos is offering up a totally different kind of perspective. So for just a moment, let's step away from the front lines and away from the negotiating tables and just look up, because something spectacular is happening right now.
What we're getting to see is a really rare planetary parade. 6 of our solar system's neighbors, that's Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, are all aligning in the pre-dawn sky. It's just a genuine moment of cosmic order that you can see from your own backyard.
Now, this is the last planetary parade of 2025. So for all you skywatchers out there, it's a can't-miss event. For the best view, you're going to have to get up before dawn and get as far away from city lights as you can. And hey, while you can spot the brighter planets with just your eyes, a good pair of binoculars, that's your ticket to seeing the faint, distant light of Uranus and Neptune.
From that vast cosmic perspective, let's bring it back down to Earth, and also back in time. We're going to turn to a single historical event, whose shadow, well, it still shapes the very diplomatic tensions and the conflicts that we're seeing unfold today.
It has been 80 years. 80 years since the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, which instantly and terrifyingly kicked off the nuclear age. Now, here we are in 2025, and we are living with that legacy every single day. The threat of nuclear weapons is still a dominant, defining force in global politics. The legacy of that moment, it's not just something in a history book, it's our present reality. You can see its echoes today in the ongoing nuclear arms race between India and Pakistan, in North Korea's relentless pursuit of its own arsenal, and in Iran's continued defiance of denuclearization. These are all just different chapters in the same long story that started 80 years ago.
So, we're not going to end with a neat summary. Instead, let's close with a powerful idea that comes from reflecting on this very anniversary. It's an argument that to navigate the immense pressures of our time, from these tense summits to the ever-present shadow of nuclear arms, the single most important thing we have is this. The world needs calm, pragmatic debate to avoid repeating historical tragedies. A sobering and absolutely essential reminder of what is truly at stake.